Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to Geek Syndicate episode 310, episode 310. We are doing what we always do, which is bringing the sass back to geekdom. I am Monts, and with me as always...
I'm Nuge. Not to be confused with I am Groot.
I just think that's how you should communicate now. Just like...
I am Nuge.
Yeah, and I'll talk like I know, I'll just like sound like I know what you're talking about. And after a while, people will be like, is he actually from another planet? Like, I don't know, Nuge World or something.
I am Nuge.
Excellent. I was thinking the same thing.
I am Nuge.
Okay, let's get to it then, like you said.
I am Nuge.
That's right. It's time for any shout-outs. You got any shout-outs, Nuge?
Well, yeah.
You couldn't keep it going, could you? You broke character.
Well, do you know what I mean? I've got a shout out, but I am Nuge is only going to carry it so far. Do you know what I mean? We had a good run. Let's just leave it at that.
All right, leave it at that.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I have one shout out. It's actually a comment we got on our YouTube page.
Oh.
Because what you probably don't know is that the Geek Syndicate podcast also goes out onto our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay. Did you really?
No.
Okay. To be honest, it's kind of partially by accident because it kind of goes out via the Libsyn feed. So
okay.
I have toyed with the idea of putting like some video in there and some clips and stuff like that, and then I've just got.
So it's great. It's a great idea.
It's a great idea that some youngster will probably be doing. And if that youngster wants to send me an email, do it for me.
Yeah, we need an intern.
Yeah, need about 50. Yeah. Anyway, so this is a shout out to Cassis Brook, who sent us a sent us this comment. I'm on holiday in Mauritius. Look at you. Oh God. Chilling out and relaxing, escaping the rat race of London, and I chose to listen to Geek Syndicate as I'm chilling in my holiday apartment. I don't know what he said. I know, as I'm chilling in my holiday apartment, I'm shocked. My gas has truly been flabbered. Listening to two grown men that open up a podcast with Teen Titans gangster rap has absolutely ruined my holiday. I've reported this YouTube vid and have vowed to Odin to never ever listen to your podcast again, ever. He then goes on to sort of say, only kidding. I say he, could be a she, because only kidding. I'm actually interested in watching Teen Titans Go now. And then it goes on to talk about streaming sites and hooking up with going old school, hooking up with Bucky. Hey, Bucky never lets you down, man. Solid podcast. Hope we're both keeping well. We are, and check out. You can go and check out his page, his page, for more Mauritius vids.
Yeah, thanks, Cassis.
Yeah, thanks, Cassis. Maybe let us know if you're male or female. Unless I completely got that wrong, because I could have completely got that wrong. But Cassis, he's dropped us a couple of emails as well. So yeah, hail up, man, hail up.
Cool. I just want to give a shout out to Bill Turner, known as Banger Bill.
Nice.
And he's a geek. He's from Belfast, and the first time I met him, so in Northern Ireland, they have this kind of little saying. They say "Norn Iron," as in Northern Iron, Norn Iron. First time I met him, I walked in, dude was sitting there in a t-shirt said Norn Iron Man, and I was like, okay. I'm all over that. And just a shout out to Bill, who's a big old geek and is responsible for the Black Bush Irish whiskey that I'm sipping right now.
Okay. Thanks for that. I could have added that. I could have added that in post-production, but that's all right.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so
that out of the way.
Yep. Do you want to do a bit of news?
I've got a little bit of news. And it's this, and I don't know if this mean anything to you. It probably won't. But when I saw the news this week, I rang up one person and I messaged another person, and I said, look, I've just had a bit of a gut punch, and I'm going to tell you. And if you haven't heard, I'm really sorry, but it's going to ruin your day as well. So I ruined two people's days by telling them. Okay. that Terrence Dicks had died.
Oh, yes, yes.
So for people who don't know, when I was, and there's so many people my age that practically learned how to read reading Terrence Dicks books. And basically, while back, way back when, um, they tried to get a Doctor Who imprint of books, just like, just to get the adventures on TV into novel form. So keep in mind, back in them days, once it was on TV, that was probably the last you ever saw of it. It was like you had to wait for a rerun, maybe 20 years later. You know what I mean? There was no TiVo, there was no recording. It was just like
Yeah.
watch it. So it was like for us, it was a way of like, just getting really. And there are Doctor Who adventures that I feel I've watched and I realize I haven't because of these books. There was an imprint was called Target, and Terrence Dicks must have written about 70% of these stories.
Yeah.
And what was great, a lot of the problems in the TV shows he ironed out in the books without ruining it or without going away from it, and totally keeping character. And when Doctor Who came off air, those Target books were kind of like they were like a way to grab onto Doctor Who still. And the cover art for them became sort of cult in itself. And basically he's just, I mean, like I said, about 75% of those books he must have written. And just to hear that he's died, it's just kind of like an icon from the past for people in my situation. And it's just like, so I'm just raising a glass of Blackbush to Mr. Dix.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks for the memories.
Yeah, because I read a few. Obviously I didn't read as many Doctor Who books as you did back when we were kids, but I read a couple of his ones. He did a few with Tom Baker's era, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Because I remember, did he do? There's that one where it's like I always remember it vividly on the cover. It's like the giant robot one.
Giant robot. That was one of the earliest ones he did.
He did that, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, which was the first ever Tom Baker adventure.
Yeah, that's the one. I remember that vividly.
You just got planes flying by and the robot's just reaching out with his claw-like hand, crushing it.
Yeah. Did he do one about like pyramids on Mars or something?
Yes, pyramids on Mars. That might have been. I think that was him.
Okay.
That was one of my favourites, Pyramids of Mars.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That had that old school pulp vibe to it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, see, the more I think about it, the more I think I did read quite a few Doctor Who books back in the day. Because it's like you said, nowadays there is so much content, whereas back then content was limited, and when Doctor Who wasn't on or something wasn't on, I mean, your first port of call was books.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Terrence Dicks did write Pyramids of Mars.
He did. Okay.
Which was a great one.
Yeah, it was good. That was good. Yeah. Respect, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, that's to Terrence Dicks. And should we move on then?
Yeah, because that was I feel that's probably the only bit of news you should really be doing.
Yeah.
So and we've got a lot to get through. So
let's move on to the week that was.
Yeah.
You find it's really hard not to go do.
I know. I keep saying post production break. It's okay. Just leave a gap. So off the back of the Terrence Dicks one, I thought I definitely want to start with. I wanted to start with a comic anyway, especially given what our main's going to be. It was part of the reason why I wanted to choose this comic. But I think off the bat, Terrence Dicks, we're on a bit of a serious tip, so I feel this is a good way to sort of slot this comic in. So this is a comic which is it's done by Sean Pryor.
Yeah.
Who is a friend of the show. And so it's written by Sean Pryor, art by George Cambadis, apologies. And Peter Rees, if you're listening, yes, I know I should have looked up George's proper name online and found the proper pronunciation. Apologies. Lettered by Justin Birch, edited by T. Franklin, digital assist by Justin Stewart. And this is called The Fire Within. Have you heard about it?
I have not.
So The Fire Within, as the blurb says, is a story. It's a story about domestic violence.
Oh, okay.
And one of the reasons Sean did this was because obviously he wanted to raise awareness, and I believe that proceeds Yeah, proceeds from the Fire Within will be donated to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. So this story is it's told from the perspective of a young boy, and basically it's the domestic violence between his parents, his dad against his mum, and it's a really difficult subject to talk about. But I thought it was important to talk about, because it is a fantastic comic from the point of view of raising awareness about these things, and the way that the art is very good, in that there's a lot of the way the panels are, that it's almost kind of dreamlike, because most of the page is black with the images kind of on it. So you have those things sometimes where you go to see a play and all the play is kind of shrouded in darkness, apart from the sort of light on the people that are acting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that. So it's got a kind of dream, well, I suppose probably a better term, is a more like a nightmarish quality to it. And it's really, it stays with you. It's really effective. And I think this is the kind of, a little bit like I talked about a comic on Birds of Geek, which is Stand in Your Power by
Rachel
Smith. And it's a similar sort of thing. These kind of comics are really, really important, especially given that I believe today, as we record, is National Suicide Prevention Day, I think it is. And these sort of comics are really important, twofold. A, they're really important because they give people a bit of a lifeline and highlight issues that aren't often discussed in this way. But also, they very much reinforce the idea that comics are a medium and comics can tell any story you want to.
Absolutely.
And this comic does that in spades. Like I said, it's not an easy read. It's difficult to sort of go, I thoroughly recommend it, because given its subject matter. But I think also because of its subject matter, I think more awareness needs to be raised on these sort of topics anyway. And I think this is a sort of comic that could be used in, shelters, or when you're trying to maybe communicate it with children that are kind of currently experiencing it.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, So yeah, like I said, I definitely think people should check it out, and people should pick up anyway, because, as I said, proceeds are going to a domestic violence charity. So that's The Fire Within. I will put a link in the show notes. Also, it does integrate between, when I said most of them are, Sean says, looking at the blurb, The Fire Within is told from Andre's perspective, who is the child, because there are children and youth in our world who are exposed to acts of domestic violence daily. So, and then at the end of the comic is a whole load of stats which are quite scary about current state of play with domestic violence. But I definitely think people should go and check this comic out and have a read. And certainly, if you are under the impression that comics are just superheroes, think again. So yeah.
Comic I want to talk about is there's a guy, an old friend called Luke Foster, and for the last year he's done this thing for last year on Facebook where he's put comic I like and just talked about a comic or a series that he's liked. He's done it every day for a year.
Oh right. Oh yes, I've seen some of them. Yeah,
really interesting. And one of them he mentioned was something I meant to check out years ago, never did. It's called Sandman Mystery Theater.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And
I didn't know what it was.
For me, it's the kind of thing that you just give the visual on the front covers of these comics and I'm done. You know me, man. Put a man in a trench coat, give him a trilby.
Yeah.
And you can't really see his face properly. And I'm like, there. So this is basically set in the 1930s.
Right.
And it's basically trilby, trench coat, gas mask.
What?
And he calls himself the Sandman. He's got this gun and he's obviously developed this gas which just puts people to sleep or choke them. And he's got different cartridges, like, and one of them puts him in and it kind of makes people kind of talk, tell the truth type stuff, and one just puts them to sleep and stuff. And I'm reading it, and it comes out like a 1930s Batman, because there's some serious detective work going on in it. So it's not just him turn up, kicking people, shooting them with gas. serious detective work, checking out the deeds for the building, blah blah blah. And I've read the first 2 trades so far.
Right.
And there's a woman in it who's kind of like his partner, but she doesn't realize she basically, her dad's the chief of police, so she's a bit of a nosy one,
Okay.
so she keeps getting involved, and they kind of complement each other. And in his civilian identity, they're very good friends, but she doesn't realize he's a Sandman yet. But it's great. I mean, the art is really atmospheric, kind of gives you that kind of I'm chilling out in a speakeasy type thing, and then on the street dealing with gangsters and stuff. And some of the storylines are harsh, man, proper harsh. But I'm just gonna give you some of the titles of the trades.
Okay.
The first one's called The Tarantula. Okay. The next one's called The Face and the Brute. Then there's The Vamp. Then there's The Scorpion. Then there's Dr. Death and the Night of the Butcher. And there's The Hour Man and the Python. There's The Mist and the Phantom of the Fair. And then there's The Black Hawk and The Return of the Scarlet Ghost. I thought that might get your interest.
Yeah. What? Do you know what? It's one of those comic titles that I can see, as you said it. I can see the cover of one of them really vividly, and it's lots of sort of browns in it, lots of browns, burnt orange and whatever.
That's it.
And I can see it really vividly, but I think I got it confused with
Sandman,
the
mythological one. So going back with DC, so that character's been around for a long time, and he was part of the original Justice Society. He was one of the founding members of the Justice Society of America.
Okay.
Which is like the old Earth 2, the way before Justice League was the Justice Society.
Yeah.
And so he was part of that. But then back in the 90s, they brought him back as part of as a Vertigo. So remember, DC had the Vertigo imprint, which was an adult storytelling.
Yeah.
And it's definitely adult storytelling, and it's not full of swearing, and it's not full of sex. Well, it is, but it's not gratuitous in any way, shape, or form. It's just the themes that go with it, because it's a slower read. It's like them old school detective novels where it's like, nothing happens fast.
Yeah.
But when it does, it's like bam. And they said that it was the team of it was a nod to The Thin Man. I don't know if you're aware of The Thin Man novel and movies. No. Which is set in the 1930s with a retired detective and his very clever young wife. And they're a bit socialites and all of that. But because they're both socialites sort of thing.
Okay.
But he's also got his secret life because he can't really sleep. So he goes out and when he bags people, he kind of leaves a bit of origami there and a little poem about not escaping the Sandman.
Guys put work into it, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And there's some weird stuff, like he comes home and in his bed he's got a little puppet of himself as a Sandman. And as he goes out, he goes, "Good night, Sandman." And you're like, okay, you're not quite right, really, are you?
You know what I mean? You need to talk to someone, man.
Also, he's got a butler who knows his secret.
Right.
So I was like, this is Batman in the 1930s.
Okay.
But unlike a lot of Batman stories where they forget the detective work, this has got detective work in spades.
Okay. I mean, who's it by?
It was by gone blank. Matt Wagner.
Okay. He did he do a comic called Grendel?
Yeah, yes, he did. And Mage.
Because Grendel I read and really liked. It was a similar sort. Have you read it?
Long time ago. I can't even remember it.
Well, it's a similar vibe. It was like, I think it was set in the 1930s, but Grendel was like a master criminal.
Yeah.
So, okay. And I did really enjoy it. So
he also wrote Madame Xanadu for Vertigo, which I loved.
Never heard of that.
And he's written Green Hornet for Dynamite.
You know what? I'll tell you, man. Dynamite. If you're looking for pulp stuff, Dynamite's the place to go these days, man.
Yeah. They're full of it.
They got some cracking titles, man. Okay, all right. Have to check that one out. So that's Sandman Mystery Theater.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I really like sound that one.
And it's right. I think it's for some, it could be an acquired taste. I read the first trailer, you'll know whether you're in. Personally,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. Okay. It's on my list, man. It's on my holiday list now. So this is moving on. This is a TV show. I want to mention this because it's a prime example of what I think is just bad marketing.
Is it gonna? Oh, wait, stop. Is it gonna be an English show?
Well, I think it's an English show with American like money behind it.
I just think the English are the worst
Yeah.
at marketing their shows.
It's put out by is it Stars?
Stars, yeah,
Stars Network or
STARZ.
whatever. Yeah. Now I think this show came out in the summer. I think this came out sort of June, July time in the States.
Okay.
But I actually think it dropped over here on Virgin Media like in July maybe.
Okay.
And given the fact that I've got Virgin Media, I stumbled across it like last week.
You just stumbled across it.
Literally, I stumbled. It was on. It had one of the banners up on the Virgin Media when we were scrolling through for TV shows, and it happened to pop up. And I remember I saw the trailer for it. I think it was last year or whatever. And again, I'd stumbled across the trailer because there wasn't a lot of marketing even thrown at the American side of things. And I remember watching the trailer and going, yeah, it's not really feeling it. And in fact, the only thing that kind of I've made me raise my interest is because it's got Adrian Lester from Hustle
in
it, and I was kind of anything with Adrian Lester, and it's got a paranormal vibe to it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to put that one on the back burner to remember, and then that completely went off my radar until I saw it. So we were kind of looking for something to watch. We tried to watch that Carnival Row.
Oh yeah.
Slight detour, but what I find now at the moment is seems to be a bit of a wave of shows which are trying to sort of tap into our current political landscape, and by political landscape I mean political shitstorm.
Yep. Yep.
So we started kind of right, and it was a bit too close to home with the topics, and I just thought, you know what, part of the reason I love being geek is because I like watching stuff which is removed from my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought I just haven't got the energy for that at the moment. I'll come back to it. So we decided to check out The Rook, blitzed it, done. 8 episodes, already watched them all.
Seriously?
Yep. So I'll read the blurb and then I'll say what I think the problem is, because it hasn't done very well ratings wise, and I'll be surprised if it.
So there's no series 2, you reckon?
I'll be surprised. Okay. But it is, even though I don't think it'll get a second series, it's not a reason not to watch it, because I think it does feel quite self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
So this is based on a book series. I think at the moment the guy's got 2 books out. I can't think who it's by. But anyway, the blurb is: Mythony Thomas wakes up in the rain beside London's Millennium Bridge with no memory of who she is and no way to explain why she is surrounded by dead bodies. She discovers she is a high-ranking official of the Chakai, Britain's last secret service agency for people with paranormal abilities.
Okay, I'm in right there.
Mythony makes it her mission to find out who she is, who wiped her memory, and why she's a target while trying to navigate the complex world of a secret agency and the people who are part of it. And the book's by Daniel O'Malley. And the reason, and now she's part of this secret service agency, and the sort of main people in this agency are kind of like, their job titles are chess pieces.
That's like Checkmate in DC.
Yeah. So she's a rook. Then Adrian Lester is he a knight?
I was gonna be. I was like, Adrian Lester has to be a bishop, did he?
No, I think he's queen.
I don't really know how chess works anyway. So.
No, me neither. I think he's queen because the woman who's in charge, I think she's king. But anyway, what I think, looking at some of the reviews for this, I think it's a victim of where we are now in the geek genre landscape, in the fact that the landscape is so full of shows doing a similar.
How'd you get something to stand out?
Exactly. And also because the way they show the abilities is very, very
subtle. Underplayed.
Yeah.
People want big spectacle these days.
Yeah. And I think like they've got this there's these 4 people in it that have a hive mind. So it's 4 of them, but they share the same mind.
Are they the blonde ones? Because I've just seen some pictures. And I
Yes.
saw a load of blonde people.
Right. And the thing is, the first episode, and I saw them, it's like, these are, I've forgotten, guest, I think they're called Gestalt.
Okay.
Gestalt, which Sue says actually is a sort of something to do with psychology as well. And the thing is, the first time, when I first saw them, I was a bit kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. You know, they're a little bit kooky because they're high in mind.
Yeah.
And I think they could have, if I had been doing that, I wouldn't have given them the whole blonde hair thing. It was a little bit too on the nose.
Too far.
Yeah. However, the way they use them, I think works really well. And when you watch the title, the opening credits, I defy you not to be reminded of the Tomorrow People.
Okay. All right.
Not quite as scary as those credits.
Yeah, that's a good place to start from, man.
A little bit, but you know what? So this is how I'm going to describe it, right? It doesn't matter if people don't enjoy it or whatever. This is how I'm going to describe it to you, right? To me, this is like a world where this is like a world in the UK where in one corner of the UK you have a special section, a special branch of the British government which hunts vampires.
Yeah.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Right.
Ultraviolet.
Right. And then in that same world, you've got another department which hunts people, which uses people with supernatural abilities to protect the UK from supernatural threats. So to me, in terms of the tone of it, it felt like Ultraviolet.
Yeah. Nice.
The tone.
See, the thing is, you're saying, maybe not to everyone, but to me, you're saying all the right things, man.
Tone, the look, it reminded me of Ultraviolet. Now, I think the problem is, because a lot of the reviews I'm reading go, oh, it's slow, it's a bit boring, where's the fun? And they don't have fun with the powers or anything like that. But the problem is, I think if you dropped Ultraviolet now, it wouldn't work.
Which is a shame.
Do you know what I mean? I think if you dropped Ultraviolet now, it'd seem like a stone. Because a lot of critics will be like, yeah, it's all a bit boring, isn't it? They're supposed to be vampires, but they never call them vampires. You know, and it's that sort of vibe they give the Rook. But like I said, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I would certainly recommend, I'd certainly recommend you watch it once. Because I'd like to see what you thought of it.
I'm on it, man.
Again, it's that thing of, if you watch the first episode and you're not in, don't worry about watching the others, because I think that sets the tone.
Yeah. If
that tone on the first episode don't work for you, it doesn't necessarily pick up. You're not going to get high octane like car chases and martial arts fights. Do you know what I mean? It's not that kind of show.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, you wouldn't mess with Adrian Lester's character in it, because he can control the atmosphere around him.
Okay.
And it's what I mean. It's just subtle. It's just subtle, and that's something that I quite like. So yeah. Have a watch and see what you think.
Cool. I want to talk about a movie.
Okay.
And mate, I can't recommend this movie highly enough.
Okay.
I saw some people talking about it on Facebook, and I said, Siobhan and I had a really hard day with the kids. We felt like we'd been beaten up. And I said, I feel like I need something like this movie. What do you say? And she went, okay, we'll give it a go. It's called Bait.
Bait?
I'm already laughing, man.
Really?
It's a shark movie.
Like shark disaster movie?
Like Jaws or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's set in a supermarket.
What? How does that even work?
This is a bunch of people who are survivors of a tsunami. You're trapped in a supermarket with a 12-foot white shark.
Oh, I'm in, man.
I literally got tears coming out of my eyes telling
you. Who's in it? Anyone? Or...
It's Australian.
Okay.
So a lot of people are going to be like Australian, like regulars, like home and away people,
right?
Whatever. A name you might know is Phoebe Tonkin. She was in one of your guilty pleasures, Vampire Chronicles. Was it called Vampire, whatever it
Oh,
is?
Vampire Diaries.
Vampire Diaries, yeah. And I know her because my kids used to watch something called H2O, Just Add Water. When she was a teenager, she was a mermaid. So I don't know, it's grown up a bit, quite a lot actually. But also it's got Julian McMahon in it.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Doctor Doom.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's he's well established globally, but he's doing the worst American accent, and I don't know why. I just don't know. It's not necessary.
Wow, this came out in 2012.
Yeah, mate, I loved it.
Really?
I said to Siobhan, I don't regret 1 minute of that movie. It's like it starts off with some guy's a lifeguard, and he's a bit hungover, and his lifeguard mate's going, dude, you're meant to go and check the boy, and he's going, oh man, I can't do it. He goes, oh, don't worry, I'll go and do it for you. He goes, my sister's down on the beach looking for you, and he's engaged to this dude's sister.
Right.
And this dude goes out and gets killed by a shark. Yeah, and it should have been him.
Right.
So the next thing is like he goes out, he's out on his like jet bike trying to get him, and he's basically got him in his hand, and the shark bites off everything but his hand. Yeah. And he does this classic no, and then it's 1 year later, just before just before a tsunami.
Okay, don't tell me no more, man.
And it's just after that, I loved it, and the thing is when you're watching it, no one's safe.
Right.
So you don't know who's gonna go next.
So the big question, well, I'm reading the blurbs. The blurb is a freak tsunami traps a group of people in a submerged grocery store. As they try to escape, they are hunted by white sharks that are hungry for meat. Yep. So my question is, how does it stack up to Deep Blue Sea, which is my go-to shark/disaster?
See, I remember loving Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
But I don't, this one just gave me sheer joy.
Okay.
It's like, because you sit there, you go, I can't even begin to take this seriously. And yet, but they take it seriously. Do you know what I mean? They're taking it seriously, and I think, and it's better for it. Some of the dialogue, it's not as good as Deep Blue Sea, but some of the dialogue, Deep Blue Sea's up there.
Okay.
But some of the dialogue, you go, that is awful. That is awful dialogue, and it just adds to the joy of it.
So what did you watch?
There's a line I want to tell you.
Okay.
It's like basically someone dies, and someone who was close to them is sitting there looking upset, and someone goes up to him and goes, "How you doing?" I'm like, "You all right?" Of course, he's not all right. It's like,
so how do you? Because I'm looking at it and it says
Netflix.
something about Netflix. Okay.
Netflix.
Okay.
You won't find it. You've got to search for it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's buried. It's buried deep, man.
Very deep.
Yeah. It says it's an Australian Singaporean horror, and this came out of 3D. But there's some harsh deaths in this thing, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm with it.
And
right.
And you're obligatory weasel.
Always. Right.
Yeah.
On that front, we'll do one more thing and then we'll get into the main.
Cool.
We're at time. So I want to quickly mention this, mainly because if there's an Oscar, so I always thought one of the best fight scenes in terms of accompaniment by music was the Phantom Menace, the Duel of the Fates. You know, just say what you want about the film, but that piece of music, that fight, is awesome. However, something else which must go down in the annals of musical history / fighting is I got 5 with it. Sorry.
Oh, Us.
Which comes from the film Us, and there's a fight sequence towards the end of the. I won't say who's fighting who. All I'll say is there's a fight sequence at the end of that film, and they drop that tune, and I was just like, "That's how
I
you
tell
do
you
a
to watch
fight
this
scene."
film.
You did tell me to watch this film.
You're welcome, man. Did you sleep that night?
I didn't sleep well. Slept, sleep did come eventually, but it was hard won. Do you know what I mean? So this was the latest movie by Jordan Peele, who did Get Out. And first off, I've got to say you were right, because you sort of pitched this to me and you sort of said it's not horror as such. Yes, it's freaky and it's scary, but it's more, they've kind of built it mystery thriller slash horror, and I'd say I'd go along with that. And so this is about a family who the mum has had a traumatic experience as a child, and it basically picks up sort of years later. And cut a long story short, it's in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler, but cut a long story short, a duplicate of her family appear, and I was going to say hilarity ensues, but it's not really hilarity.
Hilarity is really not the word I'd go for.
It's more stomach churning horror ensues. And I really enjoyed it, actually. I really enjoyed it. I saw some of the way the movie was going to play out. You said this to me, and you said something, if you notice something, then you'll kind of see how the movie's going to like pan out. And I did. I don't know if it's what you saw, but what I love about it is that now people might read different things into it than I did, so fair enough. But what I liked about it was it had nothing to do with them being black.
Absolutely.
It was just a family. That could have been an Asian family, could have been a Chinese family, could have been a white family. It was just a family, and shit happens to them, and that's something that I really enjoyed about it.
I think because it was Jordan Peele and because his last film was Get Out, I was thinking, what is the point he's trying to make about race? And there wasn't one.
No.
And it was brilliant because then it's just normal movie. It's just a movie.
Yeah.
The black family, you don't see much of that, especially in horror movies, without it being relevant. And it doesn't need to be relevant. They're normal people, but they're not that normal. But what I love, there were certain elements of this film which, on retrospect, think about it, don't make sense to me.
Right.
But at the same time, having said that, there's still layers to this movie. And like the two people I saw it with, we were unpacking it for a few days and seeing things which were like, wow, never saw that. Isn't this guy clever? And the thing is, Jordan Peele might never have thought of those things, but we managed to read it into it, which meant it was constructed in such a way that I thought was really clever.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like, extra points because I think there's a bit where the mum turns to the daughter and says, "Go and put your shoes on," because it's going to be chipping time.
In it.
And I think it's those little touches that I quite like. You know what I mean? Go put your shoes on, because you know what I mean.
And also, you know what? Those people, they're proper. There's none of that waiting around for people.
No,
they're gone.
Nah, gone. Pack up.
And great performances all round, man.
Yeah. No, it was a great film. And I think the thing is, I would have been interested to see what happened if this had come out before Get Out. Because you're right, I think because of Get Out, which I enjoyed, I think that a lot of people were looking for more out of it than what it actually was. But yeah, I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a great film. So let's move into our main feature. Bring popcorn.
Yeah, so what we wanted to talk about was the relationship really between movies, comic book movies, and comics, and how they're doing. Do you want to include kind of TV in that? Comics, movies and TV, yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to say, before we kind of get into it, part of the reason why it went into my head, even though it isn't necessarily a direct correlation, but it just, I don't know, something just annoyed me at the time. So, we got this new movie, they're doing a new Joker movie, aren't they? Where it's already come out to critical acclaim. And it's due to, I don't know when it goes on like proper release. I don't know if it's like next month or whatever. But one of the things that the director had said about it, is it Todd Phillips? It said that he's fully prepared for the comic fans to be angry about how unfaithful the Joker is to the comics. And what he said was, we didn't follow anything from the comic books, which people are going to be mad about. We just wrote our own version of where a guy like Joker might come from. That's what was interesting to me. We're not even doing Joker, but the story of becoming Joker. It's about this man.
So what? Yeah, go on.
And the thing that kind of struck me and kind of annoyed me was and it could be, and I haven't seen the film, so I'm not commenting on the finished version of it, but it's the assumption that you've read every take on the Joker in a comic, and this assumption that when people do these kinds of films, that it's a greater art form than the comic, because, do you know what I mean? Like,
and
the
funnily
comic
enough,
is still belittled.
And
do you know
funnily
what I mean?
enough, it's come out to great acclaim.
Yeah. And I'm seeing lots of comments. Oh, it's going to change the way we look at comic book movies, and it's going to it's going to change the way we look at comics, and suddenly comics. And I saw comments like, comic grow up, comic movies grow up, and it annoyed the heck out of me. Do you know what I mean? It just annoyed me, because I was kind of like, there are at least sort of 5 or 6 kind of like Joker inspired titles that I could probably reel off that actually are doing what the idea of this film is doing.
Yeah.
In a similar tone, because a lot of the reviews I've read, it's, you've never seen Joker, the tone of it, and it's all about, and all these sort of subtext and sublayers. Yeah, well, man, there's plenty of comics that have done that. I mean, and done that time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So I kind of wanted. So I think sometimes the problem where you have this idea of, something's revitalizing comics and it's changing how we look at things, is, again, it's reinforcing in people's minds that comics are something less. And thank God for TVs and movies to elevate that tired art form, which is just for kids. Do you get what I mean?
I absolutely get what you mean. And I admit, a lot of my reaction to the Joker trailers is based on the fact that, maybe I'm cutting off my nose to spite my face, but I'll be looking at reactions and going, "Excuse me," and it's kind of fueled my non-interest.
Yeah.
And actually, someone put, because haven't we already had Taxi Driver?
But I think it's a bigger, there's looking at the movie as a movie, and it's the kind of the subtext of how, can these comments, do they affect the comics medium?
So I did a bit of reading about this, and I think it depends on what you're looking at. In terms of superhero comics, there's 2 things going on here. Number one, they absolutely do not.
Mm-hmm.
The comics will fuel the films, in that fans who like the comics will go and see a film, but people are not coming the other way.
Yes.
You may get 1 or 2, but there's nothing significant about that. And you look at comic shop data and what comic shop owners been saying for like the last 20 years. Nope. Making no difference whatsoever. The second part of that is the comic creators, the people who the work is based on, are they getting any love for that? And as far as I can see, it doesn't really look like it. Where comic book movies does affect comic book sales is when it's non-superhero stuff. So like, apparently when 300 came out, sales of 300, the comic went up.
Right.
Same with Watchmen, same with V for Vendetta, things like that, which says to me is that with stuff like 300, with stuff like Watchmen, you go in there, it goes, I've heard it's based on a comic. There's the comic. Just buy it and you're done.
Yeah.
Whereas with superhero stuff, you go, Avengers interesting. What can I read? Oh, well, there's this run and there's this one. This was a classic. You're like, by the end of it, you're like, I have no idea what to do. I'm scared. I'm running away. And I think there's something about how impenetrable it is to get into superhero comics, because there's so much history, so much continuity, and it's always changing. And when you've got your head around it, they change it again. And DC, I'm looking at you even more than Marvel. Do you know what? So I was just about to go off on a tangent, and I'll leave that tangent.
Okay. Well, I'm going to intersperse this, because obviously I put this out on Twitter, and we've had some feedback, mainly from Pete Rios.
Hey, Pete.
So what Pete has said, I will read most of it out. It's kind of like, I can't fault the publishers for wanting synergy between. I'll start again. I can't fault publishers wanting synergy, but when the Inhumans were all over Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Inhumans titles events at the same time weren't great. And yet the Black Bolt series was good. Also, something like the current Immortal Hulk feels creative and not beholden to cinematic stuff. So they at least are allowing creative teams to find new stories. I do think Marvel events are clearly being steered to the cinematic flavor, though, in terms of characters used or story ideas that the movies can mine later, which is true because obviously, we had Age of Ultron, we had Civil War. And the kind of whole leading up to Endgame was Infinity Gauntlet, even though obviously it's done, they've done it differently. And he then goes on to say at DC there's quite a few upcoming Joker and Harley Quinn titles. Was that mandated, coincidental? And yet the Zoom Inc. imprints are doing great and playing with format and books to release. DC has always been more of a risk taker in terms of title focus and genres. But then again, their cinematic universe isn't generating money and isn't being run by mouse overlords. So I guess my short answer is yes, no, and maybe. But I think there's a clear cutoff point because, like you say, you've got the superhero stuff, and it's more your ongoing superhero titles. Your Marvel and your DC stuff, and like you say, so you come out of Avengers, you got that buzz. And you sort of go, right, when you come out of, and I've said this before, you're coming out of the movies, where's your pop-up stand?
Yeah.
Right? But when you come out of the movies, what would you stock?
Like I said, it's easy with something like Watchmen.
Yeah, so there you go.
Watchmen, job done. But I think, it's we've both been finding ourselves attracted to runs of specific Marvel stuff rather than get involved in events and all the rest of it and the bigger continuity. It's like, grab yourself a Mr. Miracle rather than get it. And I love that because it's over and it's done. You can move on and still talk about it. Yeah.
Neil Standen said, amazingly, I don't think they've had any effect. I've said it before, but to fail to capitalize on all that movie TV success has to be the biggest blunder in publishing history. That I 100%
absolutely.
But I think there's almost an element of they don't really care about the comics. Do you get what I mean? And I think the comics are just seen like the poor, like Cinderella, the poor stepchild that never gets to go to like the ball. Do you know what I mean? Because they try so hard to almost distance themselves from it. Because in my mind, like they're doing that WandaVision TV series, which effectively is going to be, the idea is basically come from the Vision run by Tom King, and stuff like that. But are they going to push that book when that film comes out?
Exactly.
Sorry, when that TV show
and
comes
also,
out.
Does Tom King get any love? Does he get any wooler?
And I think there's this other thing where people are sort of saying, yeah, but he's writing a character which is owned by a company, and I get that. It's that weird crossover because yes, it is a character that's owned by that company, but he's written that run that you are now picking up. So you know what I mean. At the very least, you know what I mean. You should
that run
the creative team a bonus or something.
And that run is critically acclaimed. Do you know what I mean?
This is from Ken Reynolds. He says they seem to be operating in separate bubbles to me, where a film adaptation of a novel will cause increased sales. I can't imagine the same is happening with comics. The bar for entry to understanding continuity is still a massive blockade. Never understood why more MCU comics weren't made. For example, something easily translatable, simply to instill the comic medium into people as easily as possible. It's all begun to feel like IP mining for a few years now, with very little benefit trickling down to industry that originates it all. And he sort of finishes up with a good comment, actually. I also think it has had an adverse effect in creators willfully trying to make comics that can be films instead of simply making the best comics they can. I also think because of the success of primarily the Marvel stuff, we had a nice little run going where other comics were getting adapted as films and TV shows. And now it just seems everything's being swallowed into that kind of Marvel. And again, I'm just, I just thought it was an interesting topic to discuss. But I want to say I love the MCU films. No getting away from it. I'll go and see them. I enjoy them. I love some of the DC stuff as well. But I do think that these films are making gazillions of dollars. I just don't see that coming the other way. And what annoys me is I see a lot of interviews where people who are making money off comics in film or whatever are then dissing comics as if to say, well, now we've, now we've legitimized it by what we're doing.
I'm also, and and this is my grumpy old geek card coming out. Yeah. So I'm not defending myself in what I'm about to say. I'm just saying this is how I feel. And I am probably very wrong in feeling this way because I like to think I'm quite progressive. And what I'm about to say is not progressive.
Okay.
Yeah, in that I found myself getting really riled up because I just hear people going, yeah, I love superheroes. And actually, they love the superhero movies.
Yeah.
And kind of me goes, hey, I'm a card carrying comic book reader. You don't know superheroes. You know the movies. You know what they're giving you in the movies. I'm like, you got no idea where they come from, what it's about. I don't know. I just found myself getting old grumpy old man.
And I think as well, like I said, there's just people have no idea. I think people whose only understanding of it are the movies. I'm not even talking about viewers and people going. I'm talking about like these, directors and whatever who then go off and make these kind of offhand comments without realizing the damage that they can do. They don't realize the scope of the comics medium, and we've never, and I know it's something we keep going on about virtually every episode we do, but we've never been able to break that.
Well, there's a couple of things there. So number one, is the MCU films and DC to an extent ruining comics? And in a way, I'm going to say yes, because they have become, when you talk about comic book movies, that is the first thing people are going to think about.
Yes, that's
not realizing there's a
it.
wealth of other comic book movies which aren't just superheroes. So in a way, it's taking the focus out of the mind of the public that comics are a medium and not just a tool for a medium for superheroes. So there's a problem in that. There's also a problem with comic book companies, and by comic book companies, I'm actually talking about DC and Marvel, in the way they handle things and the way I think and the way they keep rebooting stuff and not moving stuff on really. And I think there's a reason that the kids are loving manga. Manga is not slowing down in terms of sales. Yeah. And consequently, anime is not slowing down in terms of its production either. And there's a completely different way of practicing, of publishing, of producing, of marketing. And I feel like DC and Marvel are stuck in an old routine, and they don't. And I don't know, but that's just my bugbear is I'm just fed up of continuity not moving forward, really. Just retreading with slightly different flavors. I don't know.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think for me, and then the core reason of why I wanted to have a discussion. There's no answer to it. I just wanted to have a discussion about it. Is the fact that when you now mention comic book movies to people who don't read, don't read comics or whatever, we've gone backwards. Now we're back.
I know, because we were moving forward then. We were moving forward then.
You were having films like, whether or not whether you like it or not, you were having films like V for Vendetta, History of Violence, Ghost World. I've never read the comics, but do you know what I mean? And other sort of smaller films coming out, which were, adapted from comics. No one thinks that about all the, no one thinks about all the Harry Potter films that are adapted from books. No one thinks that, books are just wizards.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, you know what I mean? Or books are just fantasy.
Yeah.
Books are a medium. So people just go, okay, that's been adapted as a, But also, which is what someone else was saying, you're more likely. So earlier I talked about that show, The Rook.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. I knew it was based on a book. That book's now on my Kindle
There you go.
because I know that I'm gonna get probably a deeper story, a different story than what I've got as the TV show. So I'm interested to read it and see what the differences are and blah blah blah. And I want to kind of dig into that. And I know it's two books, and obviously the TV show isn't going to cover all of that. So boom, straight I'm in, But I just don't hear. I could be wrong, but I tend to not hear people going, "Yeah, I love Endgame," and then I've come out and I've picked up a whole load of, I picked up Old Man Logan or something, not Old Man Logan, but do you know what I mean? I've picked up a load of different trades and stuff, and maybe some of it is because it's quite impenetrable. Maybe people are coming out of there and going, what can I get? And you just get this kind of shopping list of hundreds and hundreds of different titles. Where do you want to start? Well, there isn't really a place to start.
Mm.
And maybe that's the problem. But then how do you get around that?
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what's easy. So I've been watching the Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
It's a DC thing. And remember I said when Justice League come out, I said, actually, DC needs to stop playing catch up with Marvel's format and do something different, like the Doom Patrol. That's very different. And Doom Patrol is like, I don't know, they were the original X-Men. They came before X-Men, and it was basically outcasts.
Yeah.
With powers. And I've been watching it. Put it this way, I'm on episode 3, and I remember I was watching it and I pressed pause. I remember walking to the kitchen and I went, what a time to be alive. Do you know what I mean? It's been a while since somebody made me say that out loud.
Yeah.
Because it has caught the essence of the Doom Patrol and actually improved it in some ways from the original run. Because the original run, they were outcasts. And one of them, you were like, oh, it's not that bad for you, really. Especially you, Elastigirl, because you quite, you just fit, you can stretch. How does that make you an outcast? But in the TV show, they've captured it perfectly. You go, yeah, proper outcast, proper struggling, get it, absolutely get it. And with that, you've got the Silver Age run, and you can say to people, this is a trip down memory lane. If you're looking for something new and exciting, you'll struggle with it because it's Silver Age.
Yeah.
But it's great stuff for Silver Age if you fancy it. And then, there's a lot of stuff that came after that. But if you want to do it, Grant Morrison run. And essentially, that's where my recommendations stop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite easy because it's not a wealth of.
Yeah.
Although Gerard Way did some Doom Patrol, and he's in the news because he did the Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, and with Umbrella Academy, it's the same sort of thing. I really enjoyed the Netflix show, but I'd read the comics. But it would be easy if someone came to me and said, I really enjoyed that show. Where can I, I'd like to read the comics. I can go, right, well, there's 3-4 Umbrella Academy shows.
And that's what you want. Like, let's say it's on Netflix. That's what you want as part of the blurb. Check out, out where it came from.
Yeah. What you want, I hate the term, but you want a synergy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to see if you're going to keep going down.
Is it legal problems that are making that synergy just Is there too many steps to make it work?
I don't think so.
Is it that like you say, you come out of a cinema and you go, yeah, where's the pop-up shops? But who's doing that? Should DC do a pop-up shop, or should it be a local comic shop? And how does it work out for them? And do they get them? How is there too many steps? Are we asking people to embrace a logistical nightmare without giving them any way of doing it?
Honestly, I don't even know if the conversations are even being had, Monts.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean, because at the end of the day, you're making $1 gazillion or something. And for me, it's that synergy. I mean, if we're going to keep going down this adaptation route, I'd like to see more indie stuff getting adapted, because I feel that's the only way we're going to start to shift the message back to comics are a medium.
Other than just superheroes.
Yeah. So we need to see more of that stuff. But I think you're right. I think we need to start thinking, well, not we, but companies need to start thinking outside the box. I think the Netflix thing would be a great idea. Or look at Amazon.
Amazon, where they got what they call their X-ray thing, where you go on it and it gives you all these details.
Yeah. Why can't it be saying, like, if you want to follow along with this, go check out this comic series. And then, sorry to interrupt.
Go on.
But I was going to say, but Amazon's all, forget Netflix for a second. Amazon's all connected. So you could literally be watching, look at The Boys, right?
Yeah.
You could literally be watching The Boys on Amazon Prime, and then you get to in the first episode or something, a link could come up, or I don't know, or something to sort of say, if you know what I mean, if you like The Boys, we're doing a deal, like, you know what I mean, because you watched the first episode, you can pick up the first volume
10%
for
off.
half price,
Yeah,
10%
yeah.
off, or even the first volume could be free. Do you know what I mean? Because if you've got Prime, they do volume. There are comics that you can get for free because you are a Prime subscriber. That's how I got one of the Batman volumes.
Yeah.
Tie that in. Give them the first volume of The Boys. I know, yes, there's an adaptation part of it, and yes, some of it's being covered, but forget that for a second. Give them a comic that's going to link in to what they're watching, even if it's a spin-off from that. That just
Absolutely.
gives people a taste of what's out there.
Yeah, you
Because
know what? Issue 1. What they call it in business, a lost leader. You give away issue 1, people go, "Oh, that was good,"
yeah,
and you get it because Amazon can tell you've watched, episode 1 or something like that. And
yeah,
I was gonna say that I've been watching Cloak and Dagger on Amazon, and when you do the X-ray thing, there's no mention of Cloak and Dagger comics.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just a bit depressing that.
These films, the films, the TV shows come out. You're not seeing interviews with any of the creative teams that, it's their ideas that you've effectively mined.
So I follow Tony Isabella on Facebook, and he's the guy who created Black Light. He's an Italian guy,
Yeah,
American Italian guy, created Black Lightning.
yeah,
And it's like, as far as I could tell, people keep asking him loads of questions. He's like, I don't know. They haven't asked me anything. The most he's got is an invitation for down to the set where they're filming.
right.
But he hasn't been asked. I keep thinking of Brian Michael Bendis. Yeah,
Hmm.
this dude can write. Yeah, and he's trained in film writing, so he can write a script for comics or films. And when Sony made Powers,
Yeah.
which was his thing, I mean, why not ask the creator, the comic creator, who knows how to write a film script, to write it? Nope. And it was woeful, man.
Don't even start me on Powers. I can't even.
To take something so great and destroy it so well,
Can't even, man.
and give it a second season.
Yeah, I can't even go there. So so we've kind of
Essentially,
again
we just got bitter.
we just got bitter for for 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? But I kind of wanted to just have a bit of a discussion about it. As I said, there's no solutions really, no easy answers. I just kind of wanted to kind of have a bit of a discussion and put it out there and see what people think. So if you've got thoughts, people, which I'm sure you have, because we all have thoughts, then let us know. Round us upwards.
And the way to let us know is to send us an email at the geeks at geeksyndicate.co.uk. You can check out our YouTube feed and leave a comment there. You can check out our Twitter feed or our Instagram feed. There's so many ways to get in touch, so just do it. Let us know if we're talking nonsense, or if you agree with us, or if you've got your own opinions, as we assume you do. And don't forget to check out the website geeksyndicate.co.uk. So until next time.
Also, Also, if people want to donate to the upkeep of the Geek Syndicate podcast, the hosting fees, you can donate via PayPal. Obviously, you know what I mean. Don't go leaving yourself short. So do you know what I mean? See, you don't go leave. You know what I mean? You're down to your last tenner, and you keep that tenner, get yourself a Mackie D's. So, but if you want to give something to the show, help the upkeep, you can donate via PayPal. There will be a link in the show notes. Or if you can't donate but you want to give something back, then leave us a review on YouTube or on iTunes or your podcast hosting of your choice.
Do it. Yeah. So till next time, Geek Syndicate, we out.